Hello everyone, welcome back to the lecture series on ESP32. In the previous GPIO lecture, we explored bare metal GPIO programming. We examined the resistors that control a GPIO pin and wrote code to configure and operate them directly. Today we will take a different approach. We will use ESP-IDF and FreeRTOS APIs to read a push button connected to GPIO 4 and control a LED connected to GPIO 2. Many people assume that reading a digital input is simply the reverse of driving a digital output. In this hands-on session, we will see why that assumption is not entirely correct. Let us get started. Open Visual Studio Code. ESP-IDF Explorer. Advanced. New Project Wizard. Select ESP-IDF version 6.0. Hello World template. Create project using template Hello World. Choose directory. Project name. Module 3. Lecture 4. SOR. Create project. Open project. Close the older window. Delete the older content. Now, we will begin with code that seems correct and should work as expected. However, we will soon see that it doesn't behave the way we want, and we will investigate why. So, include the header files for FreeRTOS code definitions, FreeRTOS.h. IntelliSense is not working. For that, we need to modify the PS Code settings, settings.json. Here include CCPP default compile commands, include workspace folder, in that build compile commands .json. Save it. Make the appmin function and build it. Build the project. Now, for task management APIs, include task.h. Now for GPIO driver APIs, include driver GPIO.h. We need to add ESP driver GPIO in the CMake list file. Requires ESP driver EPIO Build it again. The connection is now the first LED on GPIO 2. Reset the pin to a known state, then set direction to make it an output using standard ESP-IDF driver APIs, the hall layer. So for that, GPIO reset pin number 2. Then set the direction. GPIO set direction of pin 2 as GPIO output. GPIO mode output. Now the button on GPIO 4. Reset the pin, set direction to make it an input and enable the internal pull-up with GPIO pull-up enable API. So first reset the pin. Reset pin 4. Then set direction as input. Direction of 4 as GPIO mode input. Now the pull-up enable. GPIO pull-up enable. Pull-up enable for pin 4. With the pull-up active, the pin reads high when nothing is pressed and buttons pull it to ground when it is pressed. This feels symmetric to the output side. Same kind of calls, just a different direction. The symmetry is exactly the illusion we are about to break. Let's code the loop. While loop. Infinite loop for the task. Now, GPIO get level reads the current state of GPIO 4 and returns it instantly 0 or 1 without any delay. GPIO get level of 4. Else, if it is high, it means button not pressed. The pull-up is driving it high. We call GPIO set level to drive GPIO 2 high and LED on. GPIO set level of pin 2, make it high. Otherwise, the button pressed, pin reads low. We call GPIO set level to drive GPIO to low, LED off. Set level of pin 2, 0. GPIO set level pin 2 to level 0. This is the complete program. Look at it again. Reset 2 pins, set 2 direction, enable a pull-up and an infinite loop that mirrors one pin onto the other. Now build the project. Flash it to the device. Use UART. There it is. Look at that. Button press, LED off. Button release, LED on. Instant response. This looks completely correct. If I stopped the lecture here, you would walk away thinking digital input is solved. Now, keep your eyes on the serial monitor and let us monitor the device. There it is. Pause the serial monitor. Task Watchdog got triggered and then the board performs a automatic chip reset and starts printing the bootlog again from the top. The chip just reset itself automatically. We didn't touch the board. If firmware is still the one we just flashed. Here is what actually happening underneath the app main. Output is deterministic. The firmware decides when GPIO2 changes. But input is different. Input is asynchronous, dictated by the outside world. To watch for that, our while loop calls GPIO get level over and over as fast as the CPU can possibly execute it. Millions of times per second. The loop asks non-stop, is button pressed yet? Is button pressed yet? Meanwhile, FreeRTOS is running slightly underneath the app main. It depends on a lowest priority background routine called the idle task for housekeeping. And one of its job is to periodically feed or reset the hardware watchdog timer. Our while loop is the highest priority thing running and it never yields. It occupies 100% of the code forever. The idle task starts. The watchdog timer counts down to 0. The hardware assumes the system is permanently locked up and it performs a hard safety reset. Now let us correct this. Let us give CPU some time to breathe so that idle task can run. Everything else stays the same. We add one line at the very end of the while loop. vTaskDelay for 10 milliseconds. So let us add that line. vTaskDelay EDMS to tick. Time in milliseconds, 10 milliseconds. vTaskDelay puts the current task into a blocked state for 10 milliseconds. While we are blocked, the CPU is free. The scheduler runs the idle task. The idle task feeds the watchdog and the system stays alive. Now build the project. Flash it to the device. Now monitor the device. LED is glowing. Button press. LED off. Button release. LED on. No crash. The watchdog log is gone completely. One line of code and the entire system is stable. 10 milliseconds give us 100 checks per second on the button. To a human pressing a button, that still feels instant. In this time, the loop steps aside and lets FreeRTOS breathe. That is the trade. Responsiveness versus cooperation, and 10 milliseconds sits comfortably on the responsive side by still being generous to the scheduler. One more thing before we close. Notice that the LED is currently on even though nobody is pressing the button. If you expected button not pressed is equal to LED off, the behavior may seem a little strange at first. The reason is that we enabled the internal pull-up resistor on GPIO 4. A pull-up resistor connects the GPIO pin to 3.3 volt through a high resistance. So when nothing is connected, the pin is naturally reads a logic high. Our push button is connected to GPIO 4 and ground. When the button is pressed, the pin is connected to ground and reads a logic low. In our program, we turn the LED off whenever GPIO 4 is high. Since the pull-up makes the pin high by default, the LED remains on when the button is not pressed. When the button is pressed, GPIO 4 becomes low and the LED turns off. This type of configuration is called active low logic because pressing the button produces a low signal. If you find it more intuitive to have button pressed is equal to high and button not pressed is equal to low, we can use a pull down resistor instead. Simply replace the GPIO pull up enable with GPIO pull down enable and the logic will behave in the opposite way. So let us try this. Instead of pull up, we will make it pull down. Save it. Now with a pull down resistor, the pin rests low by default. I move the button's other leg from ground to 3.3 volt. The connection is Now build the project. Place it to the device. Button unpressed LED is off. When button is pressed, the LED turns on. The button connects the GPIO 4 to 3.3 volt. In reads high and LED is turned on. Let us recap what just happened. We wrote a code that looked completely correct. It compiled, it ran, and pressing the button worked perfectly for about 3 seconds. Then the watchdog killed it. A polling loop that never yields will starve the operating system's housekeeping. The fix is vTaskDelay. It costs us nothing in responsiveness and gives a stable system. But this program still has a problem we haven't talked about yet. Right now, the loop only checks a static level. Is the pin high or low right now? In the next lecture, we will try to build a single flash on tab, and we will discover that a switch isn't the clean digital device we have been pretending it is. We will meet contact bounds and we will start measuring how long a button is held. So, see you in the next lecture. Thank you.